Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the final showcase event for the Made Smarter Technology Accelerator. My name is Justin Cross. I'm Head of Innovation here at Digital Catapult, and I'm also the Program Lead for the Accelerator. While we're waiting for people to turn up and before we actually start to look into the agenda and what's coming up over the next hour and a half, I would like to share a brief video which details the breadth of work that we do here at Digital Catapult and gives you a little bit of context as to who we are.
Digital Catapult is the UK authority on advanced digital technology. Through collaboration and innovation, we accelerate industry adoption to drive growth and opportunity across the UK economy. We break down barriers, de-risk innovation, open up markets, and responsibly shape the products, services, and experiences of the future. Our focus is on supporting virtualization and cyber-physical systems, developing digital and resilient supply chains, and driving openness and interoperability of digital infrastructure. We create cross-technological collaborations and opportunities across future networks, immersive technologies, artificial intelligence, distributed systems. We bring together an innovation community of researchers, startups, scale-ups, and industry leaders to explore new ways of solving real-world challenges. Our goal is to accelerate new possibilities for every organization we touch. We accelerate progress in the right way for the real world, responsibly, securely, and sustainably. Digital Catapult is part of the Catapult network that supports businesses in transforming great ideas into valuable products and services. Digital Catapult, accelerating the digital future.
Okay, let's see what we've got coming up over the next hour and a half. So any minute now, I'm going to be handing over to our CEO, Dr. Jeremy Silver, who's going to be giving some welcome notes. Then I'm going to come back, give a really brief overview of the program, what we got up to and how we did it. Then it's really into the bulk of today's showcase, and it's looking at the MVP presentation. So you will be able to hear from the 4 teams that made it through to the MVP development and hear from the industry sponsors and the startups that have been working on their individual challenges and listen to the challenge and the solutions that they've produced. Then we're going to have a short message from Minister Rowley, Minister for Industry at Bays. And then we're going to go straight into our industry panel discussion with the focus topic being taking digital innovation to industrial scale, where I'm delighted to say our Chief Commercial Officer, Geraldina Iraheta, will be chairing that with a number of industry representatives. And then I will be handing over to Chris Courtney, Challenge Director at Made Smarter Innovation UKRI, to give the closing notes. Right, moving swiftly on then, I would like to invite Dr. Jeremy Silver, our CEO, to deliver the welcome note. Jeremy, if you could please share your video and unmute.
Thanks so much, Justin, and good afternoon, everybody. A real pleasure to welcome you to this showcase event. And this is the culmination of months of really intense work amongst some brilliant teams of people, both the challenge owners and early stage companies and innovators themselves. You saw, I hope, from our video a little bit about what Digital Catapult does. We are here because we believe in the value of early adoption. More than anything else, we think that those people who take the risk to be first movers gain a competitive advantage, they grow faster, they become globally competitive, and we want to help them do that. But we also understand that doing that has risks attached to it. And that's why relatively small amounts of public money can help de-risk that kind of risk-taking for everybody involved. And in the manufacturing world, we have, I think, a huge challenge still ahead of us in terms of how to take advantage of all the opportunities that so many of us have talked about for so long, which we use the shorthand of Industry 4.0 as the kind of tag for. But really, there is so much still to do. If you look, recently I was looking at a McKinsey survey across global economies that identified the fact that actually, although we talk about online retail, only 26% of worldwide sales are actually made through digital channels. Only about 31% of operations volume was actually digitally automated, and only about 25% of interactions in supply chains were actually being digitized. You can see, therefore, how much of a challenge we still have and how much of an opportunity there is ahead of us to really make a change in that. And the pandemic, of course, has both made that more challenging, but in some respects has also opened up people's minds and opened their eyes to the opportunity and the shape of the opportunity. And here in the UK, we've got real strengths in some real core areas of expertise. Just to give you one example, if you look at the index of university publications concerning the results of research into artificial intelligence, the UK comes third, only after the US and China. That's a remarkable place to be. But on the other hand, if you look at the number of companies who are working, and deep tech companies working in AI, the numbers of those who are actually engaged in challenges for manufacturing is less than 5% of all those companies. So we've got an awful lot to do. And that's why a program like Made Smarter is such an important piece of the landscape here, because it provides such a great framework to try and address that kind of challenge and bring those opportunities forward. So I think, we've seen a huge amount of work going into what you're going to hear about during the course of this afternoon's presentations. We need to do much more, and I hope there's more to come across all aspects of manufacturing and the supply chains. So I'm very excited to hear how things have developed. I think you're going to be very impressed with the quality of the work that's come out of these innovation businesses. The most important of all is to remember how many more companies there are like this across the UK. And the more we can do to bring together innovative businesses with traditional businesses to drive that innovation process forward more quickly, we will all benefit as a result. So looking forward hugely to how it goes this afternoon. A very warm welcome to all of you, and I'll pass back to Justin. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. Pleasure for you to give those welcome notes. Right, okay, so I'm now going to give a really brief overview of the programme, but before I actually get into some of the detail, there's another short video which I'd like to show you all, which will demonstrate some of the context behind the actual accelerator and some key numbers and figures. So if we could now play that video, that would be fantastic. Wow, what a video. That, it really does bring it home what a journey we've been on over the last, 18 months for some of us. So, okay, for those that have just joined, just to recap, I'm Justin Cross. I'm Head of Innovation here at Digital Catapult. But I'm also the Programme Lead for the Made Smarter Technology Accelerator. And yes, there's been a lot of facts and figures that you saw there in that amazing sort of intro video, but I just wanted to delve a little bit deeper to give a bit more information. So, okay, I think it's widely recognised that the UK startup ecosystem is one of the most vibrant, I guess, communities when you compare it to those in Europe or maybe even globally, but especially when it comes to developing advanced digital technologies. But really, for these new products and services that are coming through this community, for them to have any real impact on the manufacturing sector, or in fact any sector really, they need to be, of course, adopted and integrated into businesses and also customers, not only just in the UK, but also globally. So it's this very point was the main reason for, I guess, the genesis of the Made Smarter Technology Accelerator. And alongside UKRI, Digital Catapult, worked about looking at what sort of framework we could pull together to really sort of, attack this head on and look to see how we could address some real core manufacturing challenges and go in some way to helping the UK become a global industrial leader by 2030. And we wanted to do that by bringing together really forward-thinking, innovative industry leaders who are looking to bring the outside thinking in to tackle challenges, and pairing those with the best-in-class UK startups that we know that are out there working in all the different digital technologies, and helping them come together to develop and build cutting-edge prototypes and MVPs to unlock the benefits to deliver commercial and competitive advantage, but not just for those that are involved in the program, but also a wider manufacturing sector. So you saw some numbers there on the video, but just to recap, the actual public facing part of the program has been 12 months long. And we had 7 industry challenge owners come on board, and each one of them set 2 challenges that formed the foundations of the program. We also welcomed 2 technology sponsors who you'll hear from later. And they came on board to sort of lend their expertise and experience, as well as their platforms, to help with the prototyping and MVP builds. We're delighted to welcome 14 of the best UK startups on as our first cohort, and each one of those startups addressed an individual challenge that was set by the industry challenge owners, and those challenges laddered into the 5 Made Smarter innovation themes, which I'll touch on later. The actual program itself, you could boil it down into 2 stages. The first stage was quite a rapid, intense 12-week prototyping development stage, where each of the 14 teams received funding and also support to build take their ideas from ideation through to a working prototype. We then had the difficult decision of selecting only 4 of those original teams to progress to the 21-week minimum viable product development stage, where they received further funding and support to evolve their prototype into a working minimum viable product. We had a showcase in June, just at the end of June, and that was the opportunity for each of those 14 teams to showcase the hard work they'd done. And then we've obviously got this showcase that we're at today. So the industry challenge owners, again, on the video, but just to recap, were Babcock, BAE Systems, GAF, Northumbrian Water Group, O'Neill's International, Saffron Landing Systems, and Sainsbury's. And the 2 technology sponsors that joined us were Software AG and Verizon. Now, before we went public facing in January this year, we had about a 6-month period prior to that, where the Digital Catapult technologists, the partnership teams, and also our innovation consultants worked quite closely with each of the industry sponsors to really boil down what were the 2 challenges that we wanted to take forward and form the foundations of the program. And we were keen for them to align with the 5 Made Smarter themes that you see here on the slide. Now, Digital Catapult is kind of globally recognized as having expertise in a number of digital technology, advanced digital technology areas. And the 4 here, we were keen for the solutions that we're applying to use at least one or more of these technologies. So future networks, 5G and IoT, immersive technologies, so VR, AR, haptics and mixed reality. We had artificial intelligence and machine learning, and also distributed ledger technologies and distributed solutions. And the reason for that being is that we really wanted to be able to lend the best support we could to help developing these prototypes and MVPs during the whole program. The 14 challenges that we netted out with, you can see on this slide here, and I won't go through all of them. You can visit the website that I mentioned earlier, so madesmartertech.uk, if you want to read more about each of the challenges, even the ones that didn't make it through to the MVP stage. There was some phenomenal work that was done during that prototyping stage. But just to highlight a few, so GAF, we're looking at some really interesting technologies to identify the characterization of the asphalt material they were working in, really looking to sort of drive down any waste and build sustainability. So looking at AI, machine vision for this kind of work. We had O'Neill's International. They had one of their challenges was really quite large. It was around looking at the automation of production within the garment industry, as they were seeing a reduction in sort of sewing and stitching skill sets coming through the new workforce. And then Sainsbury's joined us, and they had some really interesting challenges around looking at machine vision and AI around microbial control in ready-to-eat foods, but also looking at AI and how that could make sense of the wealth of data they had coming in around their around a product, so that they could reduce shelf life and in turn reduce wastage. So the actual public-facing part of the program kicked off in January, at the beginning of this year. We had a 10-week open call, which was supported by a robust scouting and outreach program, where Digital Catapult really leveraged our network of startups that we built up over the multiple programs that we've run over the years. We also, after that, we finished and we went into a two-stage, quite robust judging and selection phase, where stage one was our Digital Catapult technologists, partnerships team and innovation consultants reviewing 100 applications, and really boiling that down to a shortlist that then we discussed with the industry sponsors to give them the choice of the two companies that were to join the program and make up the cohort. The prototyping phase kicked off right at the end of March, and we had the prototype presentation on the 23rd of June, which was well attended by a number of senior industry bodies. After that, we made that decision to take 4 forward for the MVP development phase, and that phase kicked off mid-July and culminates today. Really, this is the pinnacle of the entire program, so it's quite a momentous occasion for us all. The 14 startups that joined the cohort, you can see here. Again, this was quite a mixed bunch of companies, each brilliant in their own way, but on different level and different periods of their journey in some instances. And you're going to hear from 4 of them later this afternoon. So just to give a quick little flavour of what went on in the prototyping and development stage and also MVP stage, this slide here you can see after launch we had a number of challenge alignment workshops, supported then by weekly tracker meetings to ensure the prototyping phase ran to schedule. We also ran individual business case reports on the 14 different proposals and prototypes. This is really to look at the scalability, the market competition, and also the potential for commercialization for these individual ideas. The 2 tech sponsors ran group workshops and individual workshops to further understand how they could support the builds and how they could lend their experience and expertise. And then we also had pitch training workshops to ensure that the founders and CEOs of the startups were match fit when it came to the showcase on the 23rd of June. The 4 companies that you're going to hear from later are here. I won't go into detail because we're going to talk a lot about them later. And this is just a snapshot of what went on during the MVP development stage. So again, after kickoff, straight into some really intense MVP alignment workshops, this time bi-weekly tracker meetings to ensure we stayed on point. We had 2 different work streams operating during this phase. We had a situational context report, which was running. This was focused really on the industry sponsors, helping us to understand what key metrics were important to them and what discussions need to be had if MVPs were successful, of how they could be integrated into their operations at a later stage. And then we had, for, I guess, more the founder-facing piece of work was around the business strategy development, really helping the companies think beyond the Made Smarter Technology Accelerator, looking at business models, commercialization pipelines, and helping build that kind of capability. Our product team came heavily involved in this period, and our Digital Catapult technologists were heavily involved during both the prototyping phase and also this MVP development. We also had presence at Digital Manufacturing Week about a month ago now, and we had the pitch training workshops, again, to ensure that we could convey the hard work that was done in the best possible light. Okay, I think that's probably enough for me, and I hope that's given a good context as into what we actually did on the program. Of course, if you have any more questions, feel free to please reach out and get in contact with me, and I'm happy to answer any of those. Okay, now we get to the real bulk and meat of the event today, and it's the MVP presentations. First, I would like to please invite Jim Simpson from Babcock to please unmute and turn your video on, and to explain the Warrior Base Overhaul Challenge, and then invite Jetsoft to talk about the solution. So over to you, Jim.
Thank you, Justin. If we can move on to the next slide, please. So I'm just going to take a minute or two to introduce Babcock and the challenge we set, and then we'll hand over to the real stars who've done the prototype development for us. So Babcock's an international aerospace defence and security company. We turn over about £4.5 billion a year, and have about 30,000 highly skilled people. And our focus is on value-added engineering services. We try and sell that capability across the world, but we have a real strong base in France, Canada, Australia, and South Africa. And our challenge was focused in our land defence sector, which is providing services to the UK MOD. So if we can move on to the next slide, I can tell you a bit about that business. So that is the former defence support business that's providing a service for the British Army in repairing and overhauling their all of their vehicles, and also providing a significant amount of training to them. And that business has an in-depth capability, really born out of many years' experience repairing these vehicles, but has some constraints around the capacity and the flow rate that we can apply to our factories. So moving on to the final slide, we set a challenge around the Warrior armored fighting vehicle, which you can see in the picture there, which we had need to increase the capacity for overhaul of these. They come back to our base for an in-depth overhaul, and we strip down the hull to its bare metal condition and measure a number of critical dimensions, principally around thickness of that hull, and we examine it very carefully for delamination of the alloy. All of that is done and recorded on a paper-based system, which is incredibly time-consuming and doesn't give us the facility to really recall and use that data to take any further engineering action. It's not integrated with our IT systems, and so we have a very traditional repair business that could really do with some modernization. And so we asked, we set the challenge, could this be collected digitally and assessed so that we can then reuse that data for a number of either engineering decisions, provision of quality information, or future services. And we wanted to be able to visualize that information much more clearly. So that was the challenge we set. And we're very pleased to view a number of solutions really to this, but really selected Jetsoft to work with us to develop the prototype. So I'm now going to hand over to Tom Martin, who's the CEO of Jetsoft, to tell us really how they approach that and what they've done.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. Thank you, Justin, and thank you, Jeremy, and for the warm introduction. Yeah, my name's Tom Martin. I'm the founder of Jetsoft, and actually, this is kind of a strange event, really, because for Made Smarter, this is a wrap-up event. It's the culmination of all their hard work. But for us as SMEs, this is a launch event. This is us showing the capabilities that we've developed, the technology solutions that we've developed. So, yeah, a bit of a mix then. This is very much as sort of taking our stuff to market and showing you guys what we've developed. So what I wanted to do as well is a bit of a background for Jetsoft, for those who don't know. We're a software and data company that specialises in solutions for the aggregation, management, and utilisation of inspection and quality control data. And it's our view that inspection data has the potential to revolutionise manufacturing if collected and used in the correct way. And one of the reasons really I'm here as well today is to try and get that information across and let you know and communicate to you how important and how valuable inspection data is and can be. You know, if you're a manufacturing company, you do a set of linear processes, and at the end you probably inspect those parts to determine whether they can go and do their job. And some parts will fail that, and they'll be either scrapped or they'll go through expensive rework, and that is lost value. Those parts that are scrapped are just pure waste, and that extra time and resources that are required for rework has a huge direct effect on the bottom line. But actually, by utilizing inspection data, which has the power to tell you where, when, and why parts are failing, it has the potential to really help you to improve and drive process improvement. In fact, it's the kernel, the core information that should be being used to reduce waste and therefore become more productive. You know, and this is proven out with some of the technology we've developed previously. We help customers. We've helped a customer to utilize their inspection data, and they're actually have driven down their scrap rate, and they're saving over $2 million per annum without any extra real cost, but just by using their inspection data in a smart way. But of course, to do that, you need to capture it in the correct way. You need to get those original data sets, and you need to manage it in the correct way. So the challenge. So what have we done? So as Jim said, I don't want to go over exactly what he said, but the challenge really was to look at the MRO function of the Warrior project. And what they do is they take a tank like this one and they completely strip it down, and then they perform a set of work items on that tank, from inspection to dimensional measurement and a whole host of these different processes on that tank. And actually, what the challenge that was posed by Babcock is actually twofold. Firstly, it was to improve the quality of inspection data, that inspection output. And secondly, it was about improving their operational efficiency. Jim said, Babcock's is about value-added engineering. Well, if you can collect better data and you can provide that to your customer, you improve your value proposition, and it's really useful information. And secondly, as I say, the second challenge was about data management. So really, these are two very distinct challenges that require two very distinct applications to solve them. The first one is a capture challenge, which is about looking at how the data is collected and improving the collection of that data. And actually, this is something that we picked up on as a requirement in industry anyway. The current way of doing it is really poor for traceability and for data utilization. But actually, there's a real potential and opportunity there to capture data in a much better way. So we kind of previously identified this before, though I would say it was extremely doubtful whether we would have done anything about it without the commitment of the program and the challenge owner. But that's a real interesting challenge. And then the second one is about data management, and this is more about creating a versatile, adaptable enterprise application that would enable companies to digitize their processes. And actually, we took a bit of a moonshot to this, and we wanted to develop an application that could be utilized by anyone to digitize their processes. So they're the challenges. What have we done? Well, the first product that we developed was about the capture problem, and this is about looking at how we can improve the data that's collected at that point of inspection. Now, traditionally, the way this works, and this works way across industry, I'm not picking out Babcock here, but you run a probe across the surface while somebody's observing an inspection device, and then a report's created at the end of it. So you've got the data that's been observed at the inspection point, but then that never makes it into the actual data set that's collected. You get a paper report. So actually, we looked at this and said, okay, well, can we combine the positional information with inspection information so we can create these really complex inspection data sets without really introducing any extra work at the inspection process? And that was a key thing that we wanted to do. So what we've developed here is a solution called Codeplot, which takes the positional information, takes the inspection information, and creates these rich three-dimensional data sets, which then which then gives really good traceability that the inspection has occurred, but also it enables you to utilize that data and utilize that information for further processes. So this has worked really well. And a thing to point out here is this solution is agnostic of positional of equipment and inspection data sets. So it's a really versatile solution that can be applied in a whole host of different environments. And actually, we're getting some really good interest in this from a number of different companies. Sonotest, they lent us some inspection equipment. They're interested in being a distributor. We're talking to a UK cobot manufacturer about potentially doing some semi-automated inspection. So actually, we're really excited about this product going forward. We think there's a huge potential for it. So yeah, the second challenge, now this is the digitization challenge, and this is kind of more of a generic problem faced by industry, and that's about how do we digitize data collection and utilization. Now, Babcock wanted to record information centrally and have it accessible to all stakeholders, but there's a couple of key requirements, and one was that it needed to be delivered on premise. So cloud was out of the question because of the security nature of the data, but also it needed to be extendable and manageable by Babcock. These processes change, new things need to occur, you get new requirements, specifications change. So it has to be quite a versatile application. But what we realized, actually, we had some existing technology that we could leverage in this case. We've already developed and delivered some solutions that are server-based and enable the collection and management of NDT information. But actually, this was about expanding that. So we took that initial technology and we've really, really built upon it and souped it up. We can now do things like assign inspection data to a particular location on a component or geographic location. We've improved our template creation system, and we can collect some really rich information and combining it all together. We've got a job system that enables you to create jobs and have set the work items that are in that job so that you can actually analyze the performance and manage that centrally. We have data validation and alerts, so we can alert and notify stakeholders of certain requirements, and we can validate the data as it comes in. So it's a really powerful piece of software that really delivers some fantastic benefits. This solution enables companies to digitize their processes. It gives them the power to digitize their own processes, and this application really widens what our product offering, and has potential across a whole range of sectors, not just inspection, actually. And our real challenge now is to how do we exploit this technology going forward? You know, this has a huge potential. So really, that kind of wraps up what we've done. As much as I can do, because we really have put a lot of work into these things, and they really are very comprehensive solutions. But what I'd like to do finally is just thank everybody. We're indebted to the Digital Catapult team for all their incredible hard work and the support they've given us. It really, without them and the commitment to Babcock to the project, we wouldn't have got this far. So the last thing is, if you've got any questions, thoughts, or ideas, please just don't hesitate to get in contact with us. And I can see Justin's appeared, probably because I've taken too much time. So yeah, just like to thank everybody, and hopefully that's given you a good overview of what we've achieved.
Thank you very much, Tom, and thank you for the compliments. If you could now stop sharing your screen and turn your video and microphone off, that'd be fantastic. Brilliant. Okay, there's the first one. So next up, I'd like to now please invite Andrew Blenkham from Northumbrian Water Group to please turn on your video and also share your microphone and introduce the next challenge, which is the water network monitoring and real-time analysis, and then introduce Riscon. Over to you, Andrew.
Thank you very much, Justin. If you could move on to the next slide, I'll give a quick introduction to Northumbrian Water. Next one, please. There we go. So within Northumbrian Water Group, we have Northumbrian Water that operate in the northeast of England, and we have Essex and Suffolk Water that operate in the southeast of England. So in total, we serve about 4.4 million customers with water and sewerage services. We have just under 3,000 employees, and there's some numbers on there that show the scale of the network, and the majority of that is underground. Every day we supply nearly 1.1 billion litres of water to our customers, and our performance is monitored against multiple targets, and these are incentivized through kind of penalties and rewards through Ofwat, the regulator. If you go on to the next one, please, Justin. In terms of the challenge, now I mentioned the scale of that network. At the top end, where we have our water treatment works, we have a lot of water quality monitoring, as you would expect, to ensure we are supplying the best quality water into that system. So we have 24/7 monitoring with some really highly accurate probes and things like that. Now, once we get down into the network, we don't have that kind of permanent monitoring in place. We have a manual sampling program, which is a regulatory requirement to ensure that we are kind of supplying the best quality of water, and we do very well with that. But otherwise, kind of local issues within the network, we're relying on customers to inform us that there's a problem. So we just don't have that visibility of what's happening in the network kind of every day, 24/7. So our challenge for this program was to see if we could develop a cheap sensor that we could kind of roll out on a wider scale across the network, and we could get that information back into the business on a regular basis, so we could make some really important business decisions. Okay, so just very quickly, if you go on the next one, this is just, I don't want to steal anything of what Roger's going to talk you through in more detail, but basically we kind of had a new sensor built from scratch and a dashboard that would display that data for us. The great news is that we've got this installed on the network at the moment in the northeast of England, so we've got it out on site, recording information and sending that in, which is an absolute fantastic achievement in the timescales that we've been working with. Really now it's a case of looking at how that's how successfully that operates, kind of the accuracy of the results we get back, and how long that's going to last. So that'll really determine the next stage, whether we can roll this out on a wider scale, and kind of what benefits we're going to bring back to the business. I think overall, in terms of the program itself, it's been a great experience working with a new company we probably wouldn't have been aware of before. That they've shown fantastic commitment from day one, and I think they've done a terrific job. So if I can invite Roger onto the screen now, and he's going to take you through the details of what they've been doing for the last few months. Are you there, Roger?
I am. Hi, Andrew.
Fantastic.
Justin, everyone, thanks very much for that. I'll just get my slides prepared, and thank you very much for that kind introduction. Great. So, thanks again for the introduction. It's lovely to be presenting here at the end of the MVP stage on behalf of Riscon and Inventia, who were a sort of a joint application in this venture. And we're really excited to take you through this this presentation today, showing really the product that we've managed to develop during this MVP period. Okay, let's get going. So a famous English playwright once said, "Thousands have lived without love, but none without water." And I think that's a pretty true statement then. It's still valid today, and I'm predicting long into our futures. But in this present day, we also have further challenges impacting on this basic water resource. Populations are on the rise, resources are being stretched ever further, consumer demands going up, temperatures rising, and technology developing all the time, bringing real-time information ever closer to the customer and end user. And all of this really is impacting how we interact with our resources, our environment, and I would even say each other. We need safe water to function every day, but we now almost kind of take it for granted, really. Yet with the challenges that I've just presented above, water will be the first response front for any kind of change in climate or demand, which is only going to further increase the pressures. We have to respond to this by safely managing water and using all our means to allow providers to maintain a stable interface between the environment and the consumer in this ever-changing world. Basically what I'm saying is this isn't just a nice to have, it's kind of critical really to our future. So what does safely managed water actually mean? Well, it's the development of tools and processes to monitor the status of your water resource. When events arise in there, to be able to analyze why they occurred and decide the best response to undertake to continuously improve this management cycle. We have fantastic utility providers here in the UK that do this well and provide us with this resource every day, but they're under pressure too from higher consumer demands and more strict regulatory requirements, all whilst having to deploy lots of resource to implement the safe water strategy that I'm just talking about there. But what if technology could relieve some of that burden, allowing real-time visibility of the water, automatically alerting operators to a problem, and helping them decide and implement the best response actions to take? Well, that's the system that Riscon and Inventia have developed in partnership with NWL, basically a fully remote water quality sensor operating in rural deployments. And this is all combined with dedicated water safety software for real-time viewing and analysis, all supported by water management consulting from experts like myself in the field, integrating all these components to improve the safe water management cycle, resulting in optimum performing UK utilities and the ability to leverage positive impacts in the water sector. Now, the impact from technology sounds wonderful, but what does it look like in real life, in the water space? Well, it takes the form of complementing or replacing old style methods of monitoring, removing the need for resource intensive testing like manual sampling, whilst providing significant increases in system monitoring data points over time. It really gives you a different level of visibility. And from a better monitoring and management, the customer really starts to reap the rewards, providing the ability to replace expensive testing where regulation will allow, and impacting on expensive fines by reacting more quickly to problems ahead of time. There really are compelling numbers to kind of support investment cases in this kind of game-changing technology. And these are just the frontline impacts. There are further benefits of improving health through guaranteed clean water provision, reducing waste from leakage, having proactive capability to react to future climate threats, and very topically now, making steps towards net zero by reducing unnecessary trips and manual visits. I think we really should allow technology to deliver these benefits and pass on positive impacts to the next generation. But creating these impacts requires end-to-end solutions with skills and technology across the board. People who understand water safety management, the world of electronics and sensing technology, optimum data telemetry, cloud architecture and data science all rolled into one. A blend of capability that you can trust really to deliver the solution and help water managers monitor this precious resource more closely. And so to achieve this, I'm pleased to announce that two have become one and Riscon is born. This is a coming together of engineering expertise in Riscon blended with the talents of Inventia and their digital capability for a dedicated joint venture company to offer a unique value to the water sector. And out of that partnership comes something that we're calling the Wattsian range, an end-to-end solution for high intensity monitoring of hydraulic and water quality parameters within the drinking water industry. Let's take a little look and see what the new and improved safe water journey can look like from this unique product's perspective. So, although we always expect it to be clean, this vital water resource, which is our drinking water, comes under threat all the time from leaks, contamination, ingress of varying contaminants, and changes in the environment. But now we have the ability to avoid the angry phone call from consumers alerting us to the problem, and instead to autonomously take water off the main line at regular intervals using computer-controlled hydraulics, allowing safe sampling without wasting water. Presenting the water to high-end monitoring sensors, allowing them to sense danger immediately, then utilizing the best in IoT capabilities to reap the benefits of a hands-off workload, optimizing packaging data, sending via the cloud to provide instant readings, making sure we alert controllers immediately to the problem, allowing for faster response times for maintenance staff, dealing with the issues early, quickly, and correctly. Enhancing safety while avoiding costly penalties and providing true value to the consumer. But it's not easy to get here. Only 5 months ago, we were just a team with a proof of concept. Now we have a product that spans all the way from the mainline pipe through to the server room. And we couldn't have done it without support along the way. We'd like to take this opportunity to give our appreciation to both our industrial partner, NWL, who've been fantastic support, and the Digital Catapult for creating a program and the space to bring this product to reality. We look forward to being partners, hopefully long after the event tonight. And I wrap up with another quote, an adage really, that indicates our journey from here, in that you can't manage what you can't measure. But also more importantly, you can't improve what you don't measure. And we know that we can improve and provide a better, more secure, safe management process for this vital resource, saving money for our utilities and improving resource management into the future. Let's utilize technology for the good via the new Wattsian range and help create impact that's good for our utilities, our consumers, and also for the planet. Thanks very much for your time and the opportunity to present this afternoon.
Okay, next up, I would like to please invite Par Eliasson from Saffron Landing Systems to please, you're already on, I don't need to say it, but if you could talk through the adaptive scheduling and performance monitoring challenge and then introduce a Total Control Pro. Over to you, Par.
Yes, thank you, Justin. Won't go into much detail on Saffron, but Saffron is a large global organization, and we design and manufacture aircraft equipment. Basically, anything from aircraft engines to avionics and interiors. And my site here in Gloucester, we design and manufacture landing gears, and that's the site here in Gloucester. That's the site that went into the Made Smarter Technology Accelerator. we are very good with technology, manufacturing, and design of landing gear, but not so much in auxiliary say domains. So we know what our problem was. That is our short-term scheduling and planning. So we struggled going into this challenge. We struggled with how are we going to execute our plan on the shop floor? How is the operator? How does he know what part to put on the machine first? That is all based on data, static data that planners they plan manually, and this data is not live. So the issues, they're not going to be resolved at the right time. So we're always going to be catching up on ourselves. So all our scheduling is based on manual planning from planners, and they have to deal with complex data from large data sets, from different systems, from our ERP system, from our MES systems, and ultimately that produces a plan for the morning for the team on the shop floor to execute the plan. And the success of this today for us is based on the skill and the experience of the planner, and we want to go to something more modern and using technology to go something better. So we knew exactly our problem, but we didn't know the solution. So the Made Smarter Technology Accelerator was a perfect opportunity for us to see what's out there and help us gain experience and get technology from outside, especially working with small or SME companies to help us with this. And that's what Total Control has done for us, because they have shown us that we can you go back the slide, sorry? Yeah, they've shown us that, but with a smart system-based solution, they can help us to achieve what we want with our planning, to have 100% OTD and no more expediting, running around on the shop floor. So yeah, without further ado, then I will not steal the glory from Dorian Smelly from Total Control Pro. Thank you.
Thank you, Par. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Let me just share my screen here and look forward to the opportunity of being able to sort of broaden out what Par's beautifully introduced. So my name is Dorian Smelly. I'm the CEO of Total Control Pro Limited. And our challenge is about bringing adaptive planning to those complex processes. So net zero, Brexit, COVID, the global competition for efficiency and productivity, all of these have certainly accelerated the drive to produce more, to waste less, and obviously optimize the use of all of our resources, be those machines, materials, inventory, and or of course, labor. So it's been absolutely an absolute privilege to work with Par and his team at Saffron, as well as also leaning on the support and resources of the digital Catapult. And for us, it's given us a great opportunity to not just understand, but engage with that desire of those large corporates, as well as their supply chains, obviously, in approaching this fundamental need to produce more, waste less, and obviously optimize. So my role here is to share with everyone how this smart adaptive planning MVP application, certainly as part of the Total Control Pro Smart manufacturing platform, really is bringing agility to our challenge owners, Saffron, and enables them to optimize the use of those resources and indeed to show a 10 times return on investment. But I'm also here to share our commitment to make this kind of technology available throughout the UK manufacturing, SME and corporate supply chains. So let's understand the journey that we went on with our partners at Saffron. You know, as Par's already introduced, the reality is planners there are under huge pressure. You know, the time, the cost, the complexity challenge faced by both the planners themselves, but also the production teams in managing the multiple different products, each requiring the coordination of the multiple processes across multiple different departments. It's absolutely huge. And we certainly, you know, recognize not just working with Saffron, but you know, working broadly in the manufacturing space, that Saffron themselves, they're certainly not alone in grappling with the kind of legacy ERP and MRP technology systems that fundamentally often leave teams manually planning, doing that coordination work, directing, instructing what is actually turns out to be hundreds of resources, machines, highly skilled people, the tooling as well, the production lines all on the factory floors. So the impact of when we started the journey, certainly with Saffron, low efficiency, shortfalls in on-time deliverables, productivity challenges, and fundamentally the less than optimal use of all the inventory as well. So what would it be like if technology was smart enough to continually monitor, to analyze, to schedule, to instruct an optimum workflow, but also indeed to learn as it goes and do all of that in real time? So this was certainly the promise of the adaptive planning MVP, to have the right resource at the right place, at the right time, doing the right task for the right job. And this clearly was the possibility that both we at Total Control Pro and indeed at Saffron were committed to achieving and demonstrating in this MVP. So by way of consideration of the journey, in order to do all that, the first thing that we needed to understand better or understand well, we had to understand the past. And that meant doing a lot of data analysis. So we went on the journey, yes, to obviously to digitalize the Saffron processes, yes, to understand the variables, the constraints, the resources that are obviously being managed there. But fundamentally, what we needed to do was to really understand the plates that the planners were clearly having to spin on a daily basis. But we also needed to, to optimize this future plan, we also needed to understand the present. We needed to establish a way to have a real-time understanding on the state of the resources across the production environment, effectively on a moment-by-moment basis. And having done that, we could look to actually how could we optimize the future? How could we engage machine learning capability, to support that business as usual planning and to execute the workload that's required? And obviously the intent was clearly to provide the planners as well as the shop floor operators and the production managers simple to use, pragmatic digital screens, but maintaining the required autonomy so they could do their job and manage by exception. So we engaged the team. Our software capability at Total Control Pro was certainly augmented, and we brought in machine and AI expertise out of Cranfield University. We combined it with the manufacturing process expertise that we had both here at Total Control Pro, but equally there in abundance of Saffron. And we started to build out and build upon our initial prototype. So whereas our early prototype was focused, in a single CNC cell, our MVP broadened and expanded that journey across the full journey of those machine parts all the way through the production processes. So what that meant is that we were creating a smart digital twin that analyzed both the demand, but also the resources that were available at any point in time. It then applied the workflow rules to generate that optimum schedule, and then presented again simple pragmatic work to lists down onto the production floor to provide the operators as well as the production leaders with what's coming, what's ready, what's due, all again in real time based around the optimum plan. And then the third area of real consideration is we knew to do this well, we needed to not just provide that to the operators on the shop floor, but to broaden that insight of the optimum plan, but where the workload is currently and how to manage by exceptions. That really meant providing real-time status screens or WIP status boards to clearly and simply communicate across that wide production environment the state of play. So we architectured all that. We architected something that could learn from historic work, all designed to improve the future planning capability. And what that provided us was with an application that Saffron could then start to make those complex scheduling decisions that were actually based upon large real-time data sets, and also allow them to get smarter ongoingly as they manufacture. So in terms of the results, PAR, Saffron, they themselves have shared the impact, clearly articulating it was allowing them to move from expediting to 100% agile planning and scheduling processes. They were gracious in showing our planners can now spend time on value-added activities. The transformation of the utilization KPIs, such as overall labor and overall equipment effectiveness, improvements on on-time deliveries, and significantly being able to reduce inventory costs through the production cycles. And something that is obviously very relevant to all of us right now, it also allows us collectively to make significant inroads to the company's net zero targets. But the reduction in the asset downtime and the improvement of the production KPIs gave the opportunity to Saffron to provide a payback in just 60 days. And the impact of the production capacity and output could provide Saffron with a 10-fold return on investment. So that certainly excites us. And we're certainly committed that we have a wider impact on that. It's across the whole supply chain. And certainly the Digital Accelerator program has provided us with both the know-how, the capability to provide this as an agile, accessible, available, and affordable piece of technology to empower the whole of the UK manufacturing supply chains with this adaptive planning capability. We're going to be launching this in Q1 next year on our smart manufacturing platform. And obviously in doing so, notably make a significant impact on the Made Smarter Challenge, which is all about raising productivity by that all-important 30% by 2030, and allow us all to win the game of productivity, to produce more, to waste less, and optimize the use of all available resources. So my thanks again go to the Digital Catapult, to Saffron. I think we're certainly facilitating the true promise of Industry 4, improving the lives of all who are engaged in manufacturing. And with that, Justin, back to you.
Thank you very much, Dorian. If you wouldn't mind unsharing and muting your camera and your audio, that'd be great. Okay, fantastic. So now we're on to the last one. I'd like to now please ask Kevin. You're there, Kevin. I'll go off, and if you could introduce the challenge. Thank you.
Thanks, Justin. So yeah, I'm Kevin Pickup from BAE Systems Air, and I'm currently the lead technologist for product verification. So thank you. So basically, our customer has given us a real challenge over the next epoch of aircraft that we're producing to be 50% quicker with what we manufacture, and also at 50% of the cost. So as most of you can think, that's a hell of a challenge. Now, the other big thing is we actually don't make many aircraft. We're not like car manufacturers who churn out tens of thousands of items all of the same type. So embracing machine learning to help us in our journey on automation is difficult when we only make roughly 20 to 200 units, or maybe into the thousands in some cases, but not many. And basically, just back a little bit, thanks. The key things that we're trying to do here is to assist inspection and augment the experience of the inspector, not necessarily to replace and reap the rewards of pure automation. Okay, so now we can move to the next slide, please. So basically, we want to embrace artificial intelligence and digital transformation technologies. We want to use new materials and manufacturing and smart machines, and we want to use human augmentation technologies, again, to improve the experience that our inspectors have. Okay, so next slide. So the challenge that we gave was basically to automate inspection of aircraft manufacturing data where low volumes are concerned, performing qualitative checks with go and no-go output. But it's essential that process is scalable to qualitative checks in visual processes across a whole range of various input data streams. And the particular use case that we gave machine intelligence was digital radiographs on pipe wells, of which we make a lot. So currently we do manual, it's a very manual process, which doesn't really sit very well with Industry 4 philosophy. And like I said, one of the big challenges is traditional AI solutions only work on large data sets. They're not very governance friendly in that you don't really know what they've done some of the time. And also getting inspectors to accept the machine learning types of things. Okay, so next slide. So again, just to iterate, we want traceability and repeatability in all the inspections that we do, and governance is really, really important. And also it's about confidence, having confidence in the results of the inspection, and you can only get to that through automation. We also want the solution to be very adaptable to visual inspections, to camera-based inspections, to ultrasound data, X-ray data. So lots of different data types coming the way. And we also want to be very scalable in terms of throwing at different products. Okay, next slide. So the journey so far, well, we've been partnered with a company called Machine Intelligence, somebody we'd never known before, and they're basically an inventor of AI software for visual-based inspection systems. Now, we got through the prototype stage fairly quickly, and it looked really promising. And I'm really thankful that Machine Intelligence was partnered up with us through the MVP stage. And the product that they've developed really is getting better. But, you know, I will say there is still a very, very long way to go before we can put this thing into full production, but we really are looking forward to it. So with that, I really would like to introduce Simon Harding, Director of Machine Intelligence. So Simon, over to you.
So thank you very much for the introduction there. Hopefully you can all see my screen now. So a bit about me. So I'm Simon Harding. I'm the founder of Machine Intelligence. So a little information about the business. There's two main threads to our business. We develop our own AI system. And this is a spin-off from my time in academia, where I worked across computer science, machine learning, computer vision, and unconventional computation. And talk to you a bit more about the AI in a minute. Machine Intelligence also acts as a consultancy, mainly working with SMEs who supply big manufacturers, but also with universities. And there are a set of core needs in this, where there's the need for software, automation, and sort of critically, the understanding of data. And it's a combination of these that sort of brings us here today. So quick overview again of sort of the challenge. So BAE wanted us to develop a minimum viable product to assist in their visual inspection processes. And for the MVP, we targeted digital X-rays and of welds in particular. And done manually, this is time consuming, laborious, and a highly skilled job. And needs to be right 100% of the time, both for safety and cost. They don't want their expensive planes falling out of the sky. And because of these critical issues, BAE wanted the system to work with and not instead of an operator. So other features of the challenge that we encountered as we went on, very limited data set. BAE make relatively few planes per year. And this gives, well, very few bits of photos and things for the training data. Security issues meant they want to do the training of the AI systems locally, not in the cloud. And they also want to know why the AI has done what it has done and have confidence in its ability. So how did we solve the MVP challenge? Well, we did it by combining our AI software with new systems developed for BAE. So we took our machine learning, which is a unique technology based on novel algorithms, and is quite happy to work with a relatively small number of training images. It can work happily with dozens, which is great for this type of problem. It has a very quick setup time. Because you don't need to label too many images, the training can actually be done, set up in a few hours, and the training itself can take minutes to hours, depending on the speed of your computer. And it generates computer programs as an output. And these can be understood by an expert, debugged, modified, extended, whatever you want. And then on top of this AI, we then put some new software to integrate deeply with the BAE inspection process. So what is our technology? So like many other machine learning techniques, this is bio-inspired or biomimetic. However, our technology works in a completely different way to a lot of the techniques you may have seen elsewhere. The name genetic programming gives away quite a bit of what it is and how it works. So the programming bit, we're learning computer programs or synthesizing them automatically. The genetic bit hints that we're borrowing concepts from evolutionary biology. And this working with computer programs brings us many advantages. Like software in general, it's general purpose and application agnostic. It just all depends on what functions you make available to it to use. And here we sit on top of an image processing library, but in principle, you could use any sort of API you've got. We can also add domain knowledge by matching the functions in this function set with what we already know about the task. system is very scalable, and it's scalable in sort of two ways. One, it can scale with training cases. As I said, it runs quite happily on a desktop, but it will also run in the cloud. The algorithm itself is fully distributable. It's what they call embarrassingly parallel, and it's a very loosely coupled algorithm, ideal for cloud deployment. It also scales at runtime. Maybe the evolved solution benefits from running on a GPU, but the solutions can be tailored to work on an embedded device. So sort of a concrete example. So on the left of the screen there is the DNA, the digital DNA, or the genotype. And this can be expressed as a computer program. And the genes encode the function where each of those lines functions gets their input and the parameters. And an evolutionary algorithm manipulates the chromosome through mutation and recombination. And it selects individuals to breed based on their fitness or their ability to solve a particular task. The program may be understandable to a programmer or computer vision expert, but also you get this lovely graphical view. Here it's one image per line of code, which allows anyone to work through the process and understand the logic that the AI is using. So combining this machine learning technique with new software, we made a system that can take a digitally acquired X-ray image, grabbing them automatically from the system after acquisition, process it to be friendly to the human operator, and coincidentally, this actually adds domain knowledge back to the AI that it can use. We can then automatically find defects, label them, size them, classify them. We built tools that allow the user to zoom in and explore to get a real handle on what the AI has come up with. And on top of that is a dashboard, which is used to provide a report which you can drill down into to see where an image is in the processing pipeline, what has been done to it, and the operator can interact here, accept, reject, based on the machine learning guide recommendations. And all this data is captured digitally and stored alongside the image. So where next? Well, any type of visual data can be used, or to be honest, any sort of data can be used given that right function set. So visual images, single channel, grayscale images to hyperspectral, multi-channel ones can be used, ultrasound data, X-rays, perhaps you've got them scanned from film or CT, 3D point cloud data, something else we can manipulate. And any sort of subject matter. The AI does not know if the data comes from worlds, metals, plastics, composites, minerals, animals, or vegetables. And given that, we're looking at other inspection processes within BAE. We're also looking at other sort of similar sectors, mostly manufacturing, anything with NDT or QA requirements sort of was probably a good fit, but also adjacent markets, and food and drink packaging is seeing a huge boom in automation right now. Medical imagery has similar needs. Detecting a lump in a chest X-ray is not fundamentally different as far as the AI is concerned to finding a defect in a pipe weld. So in summary, together with BAE and Digital Catapult, we developed a great minimal viable product for a new visual inspection system. The system is easy to use. When running in production mode, the AI runs invisibly in the background, and the operator only has to concern themselves with the reported detections and recommendations. And its novel methodology fits within the goal requirements of BAE. A BAE in inspection general will bring many benefits. By being accurate, will help reduce waste. Quickly and automatically processing images as they emerge from the X-ray machine means issues can be spotted early, reducing their impact further up the manufacturing process. And this will just help drive up quality. Finally, because the system helps people do things that were previously difficult or possibly impossible, and doesn't require them to have large amounts of knowledge in machine learning, it's empowering. So using our technology, we can help BAE and others make some really intelligent machines. Thank you for your time and attention, and also thank you to everyone at BAE and Digital Catapult for their help over the project.
Okay, next we have a message from Lee Rowley, Minister for Industry at BAE, on the programme. So I will press play.
I'm really pleased to be able to speak to you all today at the Made Smarter Technology Accelerator Showcase. And as the Made Smarter champion and the co-chair of the Made Smarter Commission, it's really good to be able to speak at an event which celebrates putting manufacturing at the forefront of industrial innovation. Innovation and the commercialisation of industrial digital technology is just so important to manufacturing. As the original Made Smarter 2017 review said, the prize is potentially enormous. Digitalisation has the potential to boost UK manufacturing by hundreds of billions of pounds a year, to increase sector growth substantially, to create tens of thousands of new jobs, and to reduce CO2 emissions. The innovation programme aims to help manufacturing business capitalise on new digital technologies which make them more productive and more resilient. The UK already has a really strong and innovative startup ecosystem, and the Made Smarter Technology Accelerator is playing a vital role in creating routes to make that even better. The 4 new minimum viable products developed through the accelerator over the last year shows just how the benefits of productivity and efficiency can come to manufacturers through greater work with technology startups. And events such as this, the Accelerator Showcase, are a fantastic way to bring innovators and disruptors together to generate new ideas, to have new conversations and to find new solutions over the long term. And the government also is playing its part as well, not least by committing to the 5 billion increase in spending over the course of the next few years to 2025 in research and development, and also to providing significant backing for strategically important manufacturing sectors. And we've recognised the importance of supporting smaller manufacturers too, particularly in their adoption of industrial digital technology once it's ready for commercial use. And that's why we've made new funding available through the Made Smarter Adoption Programme. So it's really fantastic to see the success of the Made Smarter Technology Accelerator Programme. And I really want to thank the Digital Catapult for all of their work that they do here. And my congratulations to the 4 pioneering startups pitching their solutions, to Jetsoft, to Machine Intelligence, to Riscon Solutions and Inventia UK, and to Total Control Pro. And my thanks too also to the Industry Challenge owners for supporting these projects, to BAE Systems, to Babcock International, to Saffron Landing Systems, and to Northumbrian Water. I really look forward to seeing the outcome of this work and cannot wait to see the innovative solutions by the manufacturing sector to real world problems. Thank you for everything you're doing, and thank you.
Brilliant to hear that from Minister Rowley. Okay, we will now move to our industry panel discussion, where the focus topic is taking digital innovation to industrial scale. I see Geraldina, our Chief Commercial Officer, has already joined us on stage, so I will drop off. And Geraldina, if you'd like to introduce your panel.
Thank you, Justin, for the introduction. And wow, did we not see some great applications and concepts that have been developed with these partners? And now the question that we need to be asking ourselves is, how do we take this digital innovation into industrial scale? And I have my panelists joining me now. So we have Nigel Harley, who's the IoT specialist for Software AG, to join me on screen, as well as Sebastian Ansari. He is a senior manager end-to-end supply chain transformation at JLR, as well as Martin Mayle, who is a business development partner at Verizon. If you can all turn your videos on, please, and unmute yourselves as and when we need to speak. So we are going to be talking today around some of the challenges and the opportunities of taking some of these concepts into industrial scale. And when we look at a phrase that it's often used, either pilot purgatory or pilotitis, where industrial technology concepts struggle to really move into production and at scale. What is the industry perspective? And what are the main reasons why you think these concepts don't progress into scalability? And Sebastian, if you can help us with addressing that question, would be great.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. And I think from my perspective, there's 3 reasons why these technologies don't deliver to the same pace and scale as they are in the pilot phase. The first is, well, it's the business policies that we have in industry, particularly in large companies. We have huge IT infrastructures that you're trying to integrate, new technologies to in a very agile manner. And our legacy systems and our legacy ways of working, particularly from an IT infrastructure perspective, just don't know how to cope with that. So that's been the biggest challenges that I've seen in the automotive industries. The second is the business case and the ROI. Now, COVID and supply chain resilience has changed that. It's made it easier to invest in digital technologies, but still traditionally we have to receive a payback within at least 12 months, if not sooner. With the cash is king methodology, JLR is actually seeing that that's actually within the current quarter. that we have to see a positive return on investment. So big projects are off the table unless they are strategically imperative to the business. And the final thing is change management. And particularly from a people perspective, what are we going to do with all these people in our supply base that we're going to have to retrain? What are they going to repurpose? And that has an inherent fear from those people of, are these solutions going to take my job? It's not, it's going to transform their job into something else. And it's the cultural change and the education of those individuals to buy into those technologies really early. And they're the three things that I see from my perspective in the automotive industry and JLR.
No, that's interesting, because if you look at some of the comments of the 4 companies that presented and the challenges that they were working, Total Control Pro actually said that the payback for the solution that they implemented would be in 60 days. So that would be in line with one of your criteria that says we can only take it at scale if we can do this sort of things. So thanks for that, Sebastian. And if we look at how do tech providers help us and help the startups in going and taking these concepts at scales, and how can they work better with the large tech companies, knowing that a survey that Digital Catapult did showed that 82% of manufacturers said that working with startups will accelerate digital transformation. So could you share your thoughts on this, Nigel, for us, please?
Yeah, I think, thanks, Geraldine. I mean, the obvious areas where tech providers is we have building blocks already. So, enterprise scale building blocks built for deployment. And it's about reusing those building blocks. I think buy versus build. So an example is our IoT platform. The other areas, tech providers, is they have professional managed services, etc. So when you start to think about scaling across locations, geographies, you need a big team around you to deliver that. The final area, and I think this is often overlooked, one of the biggest pitfalls, and we've seen a lot of pitfalls, a lot of companies trying to scale that have failed, and that's the area of partnerships. For example, a project on a shop floor, they're trying to deliver the solution operational engagement, but they haven't thought about the IT infrastructure and what implication. I had that recently with the welding project. Great solution. The problem is the IT infrastructure was never going to allow it to connect to the shop floor. So we brought in some other parties. We had third-party hardware, an IoT connectivity layer, additional sensors. So we helped them build out the solution. So what I'm saying is, tech providers like ourselves have access to a big ecosystem of partners, and we can introduce, and it's a win-win for all of us. But it's the scaling that we all need, so we can't do it alone.
No, absolutely. And I think those are great insights that, some of the partners that we've taken through this accelerator and other programs can learn from. And, when we're looking at the impact and the benefits that you can take from tech innovation, and how do you track them to help deliver and accelerate the prototypes and the MVPs into scale solutions? How do you believe we can measure those benefits, Sebastian, in an industrial space?
Yeah, well, if you speak to my CFO, it's going to be pounds millions on the bottom line, right? That's all that he's interested in. However, saying that the last 18 months has demonstrated you can't measure resilience and risk. So it is changed the game in terms of how we get business cases over the line. Having said that, we're still expected to have a payback, but and the human element of reducing inefficiencies as well, which we typically see in automotive and in industrial sectors, often seen as how do I say, softer benefits and doesn't hit the P&L. Actually, they've started to take more of a heavier impact on decision making when business cases. So, yeah, it is still down to pounds million at the end of the day, and it's great to hear some examples today where the payback is so short. But when you start to scale it and scale at pace, that's where you start to come across the blockers of really, like what Nigel was saying, when you're investing in systems security, IT security and cyber security, that's where the additional cost comes in to scale, and you still have to make a return on that. But you can get around that through resilience and risk mitigation to rather than just a pound at the bottom line.
Absolutely. And I think I was very interested when Roger from Riscon was talking, where he said, we can manage what you can't manage, what you don't measure, or you can't improve it. And it's kind of a starting point. And you're right, that what CFOs look at is the bottom line impact. I think it's very important, but there is a trend that we're seeing around sustainability and net zero. And, there is a business case for investment, digital investment, in changing or processes at an industrial level in meeting the sustainability measures, at the heart of what companies are doing. And I would like to hear from Martin about how do the tech companies are creating the case for sustainability and helping industry in achieving those measures.
Well, I think actually, just first of all, thanks to all the showcase presenters, Geraldina, because actually many of them have already made the case around this, actually, because they've all mentioned net zero and similar targets. So in terms of sustainability, it's now central to every business case in manufacturing around digital transformation. When we're thinking about whether it's from pilots and getting out of the purgatory associated with those or into production, I think it's really important to look at the use cases early on and think those through, including the sustainability impact of that. And in fact, we are doing that. So if I can break that sustainability question down a little bit more into something that's tangible, and certainly tangible in terms of all the projects I'm seeing and working on at the moment, then organizations are looking at this from, okay, we want to digitally enable processes, but we want to look at it in terms of, is it going to improve our energy efficiency and our use of energy? That's not only important, of course, for sustainability. There's a huge cost in that at the moment, and that's going to continue for the next few years. They're looking in terms of that other precious resource, water, in many manufacturing processes. And finally, something that I think Tom Martin touched on very effectively is waste and the management of waste throughout the processes. So if I can bring those to life a little bit, current projects I'm working on, two business-to-business manufacturers actually developing very similar solutions in allied sectors are looking at this from start to finish, their effective use of energy throughout the process. So they're looking at narrowband IoT and sensors throughout to get real insights into gathering that data together to see how they're using energy and how they're wasting energy at times. And from that, it's allowing them to be able to do real-time intervention, real-time actions and alerts to change the way they're doing it. I'm going to jump over the water question for a moment to jump to waste, because similarly, those sorts of capabilities are allowing manufacturers to look at their processes from the point of view of waste in general, particularly material flow. So the fourth industrial revolutions technologies are really allowing a reconfiguration of manufacturing processes in a much more dynamic way. The reconfiguration of manufacturing spaces quite dynamically to allow optimized material flow, and that immediately has a material impact on how materials are flowing around the processes and how they are able to optimize out waste. And I'm seeing that in an awful lot of manufacturers who are looking to reconfigure not only their manufacturing, but their supply chain as well. So they're looking at resilience in supply chain, given the troubled few years we've had, not only due to COVID, but other types of shocks that we've had across global supply chains. Finally, I'm going to touch on water. I thought, the Northumbrian case there was absolutely spot on. I'm working at the moment with a number of distilleries actually in Scotland who are looking at their environmental impact, both in how they use water and how they dispose of wastewater. And again, the ability to get real-time insights into how that water is being used, how it's being disposed of, and how they can be more efficient in using water is absolutely critical. So many of the same things that Northumbrian Water were talking about, used at an enterprise level scale, not so much at the large scale utility scale, absolutely appropriate. And we're very much engaged with that. We're looking at bringing how we bring different technologies. We are certainly working with startups. I think last time I looked at Verizon Ventures was itself investing in 73 different startups around technologies associated with those many of those technologies which impact on those three areas I've talked about.
That's really great to hear, Martin. Thank you. And if Verizon Ventures wants to come and invest more in the UK innovators, we'll happy work with them and help them do that. And as a last question, I would like to ask each of you, if you could give one bit of advice to each one of the 14 startups that took place in building concepts and MVP as part of the Made Smarter Technical Accelerator, what would be that one bit of advice that you could provide? And Nigel, could I start with you, please?
Yeah, and I think a couple of the presentations demonstrate this, and that's always engage with business value in mind. You don't need to prove the technology as a concept, but you need to build the proof of value from day one. And as you start to scale, is recheck that value is being delivered. And it may be you get to a point where you actually have to simplify the scope of work, but if you keep delivering value, you'll scale. That's my number one.
Great, thank you. Sebastian?
Yeah, just remember from industry perspective, we're like a big oil tanker and we take a long time to turn, right? So there might be days where you're feel like you're pushing treacle uphill. Just keep going at it, because we will finally jump on the bandwagon and we will scale these technologies with you. So don't lose your motivation and keep pushing with us. That's my advice.
Great, thank you. Perseverance, right?
Absolutely.
And Martin, from you.
Yeah, I've been involved in 3 startups myself, and I've certainly worked alongside a lot of startups. My advice is stay focused on solving a business problem end to end as far as possible. I say I've worked alongside a lot of startups, taken them into various investment rounds, and that's the advice many investors give around products and solutions. It has to solve end to end a business problem. Otherwise, the risk is that will simply be amalgamated with several other offerings, and that diminishes the value and the capability, I think. So really do focus on being able to solve a business problem end to end. I think a number of the startups we've seen today are absolutely doing that.
Great, so that's really good advice on end-to-end solving business problems and that focus. Also making sure that they are persevering and patient with working with the industrial companies, as well as making sure that they understand what the proof of value of their solution is. Thank you so much for the insights, and let's wish the best of luck for the 14 companies that took part of the program in scaling their digital solutions. Thank you. And Justin, I guess you will join us now.
Yes, thank you very much, Geraldina. And thank you very much to Martin, Sebastian and Nigel. If you wouldn't mind all now, please turn off your videos and muting. That'd be fantastic. Okay, so next up, and our final speaker for this afternoon's event is Chris Courtney, Change Director at Made Smarter Innovation at UKRI. Chris, I see you're already on screen, so it would be great if you could now deliver closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Justin, and good afternoon all. So I guess it starts with thanking everybody for taking part. I think I'd like to extend my thanks to all of the industry challenge owners and all of the participants. We've heard about the 14 who were there in the previous showcase, which was another great highlight for the year. And whilst it was great to see the 4 today, I just want to acknowledge the great work that they put in and hope that they can find a way of scaling out their solutions. And today's presenters, so Jim and Tom, Andrew, Roger, Par, Dorian, And lastly, Kevin and Simon, really, really good presentations, really good demonstrations of the power of bringing together the industry challenge owners and those technology developers. And I thought there's some really, really interesting common themes, which I'll touch on in a second. And then the panel piece is really the where does it go next? What are the challenges of scaling? So Geraldine and the panel, thanks to those who joined in with that, just to really underline, you know, what's the journey that waits ahead for the exciting solutions that we've seen so far? How do we really get those out and industrialize those and create new opportunities with them? So my thanks to all of those who've taken part this afternoon. And within the wider Made Smarter Innovation Programme, there are probably 3 themes that are of relevance, and I think all 3 of them came through. We wanted to create, in the wider investments within this programme, a connected ecosystem, and that means there's a pathway from applied research all the way through to industrial scale of these solutions. Solutions that in themselves create opportunities, but also they have a significant impact on manufacturing. So one is it's a connected ecosystem, and I think we've seen the benefit of that. New people meeting each other and trying to sort of join the dots. So we've seen some partnerships formed, people engaging with universities as well. So, you know, a really good demonstration of doing that. The second thing is people at the heart of digitalization, particularly I thought in the case of the last 2 examples, both mentioned the bringing it to life with people, planners being under pressure and making their work better, augmenting the work of inspectors and so on, and really sort of thinking about the human factor side and how do we really create an enhanced work environment, so a better future of work, if you like, within manufacturing, and use the technologies to do that. I think it's a really important part of the agenda. And the third thing is to be really optimistic about the potential for all this technology and its application in manufacturing to create the future that we want. And that means what is the manufacturing in a net zero context? How do we really boost productivity, competitiveness, and sustainability of our organizations? But how do we create that really vibrant future of work that we would sort of dream of? And how can we use technologies to do that? So as we start to try and do that in the wider program, we hope that we can find a pathway for many of these companies and other companies to really go from those really good ideas to work out how to work and connect into a broader ecosystem, find their partners, their allies, the people that they can work with, and to start to really extend that out. So within the program, we'll have future runs of accelerators pretty much like this, and we'll see more of that in 2022. Right now, we have research centres that are up and running with opportunities for people to engage. We have innovation hubs, certainly one on the digital supply chain that people can engage with, and we've got live competitions that are focused around sustainable smart factory. So our intention in the wider program is to create that pathway. So hopefully that for many of the participants, all of them, I hope really, that the journey doesn't stop here. I hope that those companies will see success, but I also hope that the challenge owners have not just seen solutions to their problems, but potential to go further, and it's triggered ideas for them about where else could they really go? How could this really enhance their work? And I say my thanks as well to the technology partners who will give really good counsel, really good guidance, really good support to those startups as well. From looking at more from the technology side, is that kind of part of it. And it goes back to our model of trying to create that more connected ecosystem approach. So my thanks to all of you who took part. All of you listened in today. Hopefully you've taken some inspiration from that. I personally have. It's been my first or second best day on this topic. So we had a brilliant showcase in June, absolutely brilliant showcase today. So I'll just leave it to wish you all well. I hope you have a good Christmas or holiday season. And it's a shame we couldn't do it in person, but hopefully in 2022 we'll be able to get back together and do that in person. So with that, I'll pass it back to you, Justin.
Thank you very much, Chris. And yeah, I agree. It would have been so much better to do in person, but it's been a great, I guess, a great event today. And it was a great one back in June. So yeah, it just leaves me, Chris, if you don't mind just jumping off screen. Thank you. Just leaves me to thank all the presenters today, all the industry sponsors, technology sponsors, everyone from Digital Catapult, and of course the startups. I think this has really demonstrated how powerful a well-run accelerator can be to actually, realizing the solutions that can tackle, core manufacturing challenges. So it's been a fantastic project to work on. I'd like to thank everyone at Digital Catapult that's worked on this. There's been quite a lot of people, a lot of teams that have had that have been involved, and also everyone at UKRI. So of course Chris, but also Ben, Natalie, and also Lynn, who was with us at the very beginning. It's been fantastic to work with you all. So yeah, it just leaves me to say have a good evening. Of course, if you want to find out anything more about this project, this program, or indeed about the other work we're doing at Digital Catapult, please feel free to reach out to me. And yeah, have a good evening, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. Take care.